Module 8, and this is part 2. We're starting on page 8-6. And there are two things that we'll do in this little lesson. One is to play with the summary functions just a little bit so you can see that there are options. And the second one is to play around with the design. We're just playing around here, trying to improve the functionality in the appearance. As you'll recall, we had in our pivot table, we have this pivot table analyze ribbon, the tab at the top with its ribbon, and the design. We're going to play with both of them just a little bit. And over here on the right-hand side, we have our pivot table fields. And you may recall from Access Database, if you've had it, that that same option is available in that. On the Pivot Table Analyze tab, on the right-hand side is where we can turn that on and off. And it's part of our lesson, so I'll just leave it for now. Step 1 has a, well, let's look and see what we have. We have, we're going to be doing sums of these columns, and there are column labels, and here are the row labels of the different cities and the different quarters. This is all revenue in here. Nothing's been formatted yet. So we're going to play around with that. Let's go to A3, which says do revenue and do sums for them, sums of revenue. And I'm going to right click on it and go down to summarize values by, and right now sum is checked. Sum is the default. That's what they will choose for you. The computer will choose unless you choose something else. And our job here is to choose average. I'm not going to click it yet because I want to show you that there's another way you can also do it. And that's to come down here to the bottom right-hand corner in the summation values, that funny shaped E, if you take calculus, is the summation. And if I click sum of revenue drop down arrow, then I can change the value settings. And from there, I can go down and choose average. And what we're going to change is the sum of revenue. We would want to change it to average of revenue if we were doing this for real, but we're going to put it right back so we won't bother. Okay, click average, click OK. And you'll see now that the numbers have changed to averages and they have lots of decimal points and so on and so forth. That's okay. It's whatever. We'll come back and do some fixing and we're going to put it back anyway. And up on the design tab, they want you to see that you can also choose whether you want those subtotals to show or not. On the subtotals item there, you see subtotals, there are three choices, three choices, and we're going to choose don't show them. Watch and see what happens. Watch. Ta-da! That's it. You saw. Okay, and then we can choose to show subtotals at the bottom of the group or show subtotals at the top of the group. So I'll put them, that's the way it was. That's what we just had. And just for fun, let's show them at the bottom. Okay, you might be more expecting to see that kind of a format, but it does add another row in each one. Anyway, nothing is right or wrong here. Okay, these are just different ways of seeing it, and your job is to be able to tell which one the boss wants according to what they request. Now then, now we're going to change it back. So I did change to average it by itself. Right click and go down to summarize values by sum. How do you know which one to use? See, that's the whole trick. This is very powerful, but somebody has to know what it is they want. And so there's two tasks here. One is to know what somebody would want or to suggest to them what they might want. And the other thing is to be able to put it into place. And we're just doing an exposure, remember. Step 5 was to put the subtotals back at the top. We already did that. And now let's change the color, the design of it. Up here on the pivot table styles, remember that more button that's at the bottom of the list, and we can click more. Notice that there are 3 categories. There's light and medium and dark, or you could make your own. Okay, and they want us to choose on the light category, they want us to choose what's it called? White Pivot Style Light 3, which I bothered to go find. You can see the tooltips there, and it's the 4th one on the first row. Well, at least on my computer it is. So we changed the color. And now let's go over to the Analyze tab. Back to Analyze. And I told you we were going to come and play down here. This is step 7. Watch, the field headers are currently on. All 3 of these are currently on. So let's turn off the field headers. Watch it. Watch the spreadsheet. Watch. I'm turning it off and turning it on. So these column labels and row labels that help you figure out what's going on, you use those while you're working at it, and when you're done, you can just hide them. Similarly, since we're here and it's out of order, but we do all those right now anyway. The field list, you can turn on and off. These are just different panes that you can activate or deactivate depending on whether you need them. And then if you watch on the left-hand side where we have Boston, you can expand and collapse. Remember about that? The little plus and minus arrows. Okay. You can also turn those on and off. So I'm going to click it. You watch. I know it's small, but you watch. And those buttons go away so that they can't be modified. If you were going to print this, for example, you would want to have all of those extra things hidden. Okay, just a second. Let me look and see what I forgot. Okay, here we are here. In any of the revenue areas, we're going to right click on it so we can set the format. Yeah, way down here. Oh, look at there's hide field list down there too. Ha, ha, ha. It's okay to play around. You can always undo. You remember we got that undo button up there? You can always undo. Usually you don't mess. Usually you don't mess it up. Field values settings, is that what we want? And we're back to where we were with those choices of what kind of values we wanted to do. But this time down in the bottom left-hand corner is number format. And this is very common in Microsoft Office products. You'll get more choices down in the bottom left corner. So we'll click that. And what kind of number would you like? You've seen that screen before. We'll take accounting, and they told us to have 2 decimal places and a dollar sign, which is the default, but just to make sure we chose those. And watch what we'll see now to these revenues. Ta-da! Got that all done. We didn't need to auto fit any of our columns, but you remember you could have done that with a double click up at the top if you had railroad tracks. Yep. And the last thing they want us to do, 2 last things to do, is to rename the sheet to pivot table. And then go to the header, footer, and put your name in the footer. Alrighty. Insert. What do I want to insert? A header and footer. Do you want a header? No, I don't. I want a footer. And I'll type my name. And that's the end of that. We can click to get out and change the view back to normal view. And now you see the dividers and whatever else might need to be done. But that's the end of this little lesson. Not so bad, eh?